You're listening to WIDR Kalamazoo, and this is Wombat Music taking you through the rabbit hole with Micah Dailey-White.
Hello everyone.
Hey Micah, what's going on with you?
Living, taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, it's so great to have you in the studio with us today. Thanks for coming.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I know. I've been talking to you today. Man, you've got a lot going on. It's been crazy for you. Things are blowing up, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So
it's surreal. It feels very almost fictional.
Yeah. Well, let's start off by just telling everybody, who are you? Where are you from? Where are you from? Are you from the zoo? What's your story, man?
No, I'm adopted into it. I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada. Lived there for the first 7 years of my life, and then 2009 I moved to California and lived basically most of my life there. It wasn't until recently, this year, as a matter of fact, that I moved back to Kalamazoo.
Okay, well, we're happy to have you back in the town, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
From didn't want to stay in Cali.
Yeah, there were a multitude of reasons as to why I wanted to move back to Kalamazoo. One, it was just more affordable.
Yeah, that is really true. You can get like a whole house here in the Vine for like the same price as a studio apartment in LA. So,
yeah.
And the music scene here, the art scene, you wouldn't think for such a small town it would be so vibrant, but it is.
Yeah, that's something that I've noticed since I've been back. It's very refreshing to see and be a part of. Think just location wise, Kalamazoo is right in between Chicago and Detroit, so it's kind of like a deposit on the side of this river where like talent and skill and creativity and expression and experimentation kind of just lands. That's what the Kalamazoo music scene is that's what it is.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a little pocket of creativity here in the middle of Michigan. So why did you say Kalamazoo again, that you ended up back here?
One, it was more affordable, than California.
It was affordable.
Two, I had already been exposed to the music scene here. I went to Kalamazoo College. That's how I know about the place.
Oh,
yeah, I used to go to Kalamazoo College. I'm currently on a indefinite gap for a multitude of reasons, but yeah, there is something special about this small town. It's hard to explain. It's like something you'd have to really experience firsthand to truly understand, but it's almost like a renaissance here.
Yeah. So how long have you been writing music? Were you writing music before you left for California, or has it always been a part of your life, the songwriting?
I've always been surrounded by music. I come from a family of artists on both sides, mom and dad's. Okay. So it was only natural at a certain age that I would, want to pick up the mantle, basically like the family heirloom, which is, I guess, creativity. It was more arts, like the actual arts on my mom's side, like drawing and painting. On my father's side. And actually, no, there were musicians. There was my Uncle Roy, a really great guy. He played the bass, and I think that's where my love for bass kind of comes from. It was just being in his room and just hearing him play. It was nice. On my dad's side, it's the same thing. My grandfather, he was a conga player, like a bongo player, but he really loved great music from like the late 70s, late 60s, 80s, just, the golden years.
Yeah, it seems like that is a really important part of your music, making sure that there's a good beat, but it also seems like that sort of like 60s, 70s, like 80s even vibe is like you get a lot of influence from, older music, and that shines through a lot, but it doesn't seem to have that dated feel, like you put a fresh twist on it, and that's what I love, like, because thinking about Stranger Things and stuff like that. I know we talked about, it's like, ooh, like the 80s are in now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Whenever I listen to music from the 80s, I'm an 80s, fanatic.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you talk to anyone who actually lived through the era, it's like either it's like, yes, it's exactly what you think it was, or it's like everything was just brown and beige back in the 80s. It was only on like popular media that everything was bright and neon. But when you listen to the music, you can tell that there was another kind of revolution going on across the world. You had the synth pop discoteca era in Europe. You had the late night post disco scene, and like areas such as Los Angeles and New York. You had rock, you had stadium rock. You had these huge figures who were like larger than life for some reason. Actually, for like many reasons. You had the Princes and the Michaels and the Freddie Mercurys and the Cyndi Laupers. It kind of just set this kind of universal standard for what popular music is, for like either in this country or just around the world. It's subjective.
So I guess what would you say are some of your biggest inspirations, like either musical inspirations or maybe, like I know you said some of your family has had some influence on your sound too, so you can go whichever way you want to go with that, I guess.
Yeah, my taste in music truly began to develop when I was around 8 years old. I had gone to a Motown Appreciation Festival. It was kind of just like this festival in, California and Southern California that like basically paid homage to, Motown artists and the Motown scene. For those of you guys who don't know what Motown was a record label founded by Berry Gordy and I believe Smokey Robinson in the late 50s. It's based in Detroit. The house is still there. It all took place in a house, by the way. That's what makes the studio. That's part of what makes the studio and what made it so great was that everything that happened, all the music that you hear, came from a house. Notable acts include young Michael Jackson, the Jackson 5, Diana Ross and the Supremes, Marvin Gaye.
Even though Michael Jackson is actually from Indiana. Gary. Sorry, I'm from Indiana, so I had to plug it.
You have that bragging right. You really do. I mean, the house is there. It's in Gary, Indiana. I think
but we do have so many legends from Michigan. We do.
True. That is truth. And at one point, Motown was basically the center of American music because their formula was something very short, sweet, repetitive, to the point, but just full of soul. It was the first time that like the world took black music, to heart since the jazz era. It was a pivotal moment in American history and in world history. So that's where my true love, music began. I was at the festival and my parents, they wanted to leave. And right before I got in the car, I hear doom, 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 sugar pie, honey bunch. You know that I love. I was 8 years old. I was like, what is that? What's that song? And my aunt was like, oh, that's just sugar pie, honey bunch. And I was like, wait a minute. Before I got in the car, I'm like, this is a great song. And it was fate. It was uphill since then with my musical taste.
Well, I guess speaking of that, how about we play a couple songs here?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Nice.
Okay, so the first one we have is Paranoid by Micah Dailey-White. Oh, what about that? And then we have Goodbye LA by Blah Blah Blah.
Yes, great song.
Okay. You're listening to 89.1 WIDR FM. And you just heard Paranoid by Micah Dailey-White and Goodbye LA by Blah Blah Blah. I like that little one by Blah Blah Blah. It's kind of reminds me of like a ballroom rock. It's like an oldie but a newie by a Chicago-based band.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Blah blah blah. They are from Chicago. I totally forgot about that. They're actually like, I might hit them up just to get them here and hear them play. I love them so much.
Yeah, and then thinking about Paranoid, it definitely gives me that sort of like, ooh, on edge kind of feel.
Yeah.
Always watching, always watching.
Always watching.
But, it does make me feel like Michael Jackson, though, when I listen to that.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, like that's something he would write.
Oh, thanks. I'm touched.
So, yeah, something I did want to ask you, Micah, what is your songwriting process like? Is it a collaborative effort, or do you usually come up with all your beats or lyrics by yourself?
In all honesty, I feel as though individuals like myself and, individuals like my friend Eric Nye and my other friend Jonathan Morbido, we kind of see ourselves as kind of like just vessels. The songs come and we just, are blessed with the prowess and, the know-how to just bring the songs to fruition. Because there are moments that kind of put us in a weird, state of mind where it's like we don't feel as though we're making the song. The song is kind of making itself. We just so happen to be, the tools that the song needs. It's weird. We enter moments of like flow states where we're just kind of just feeling it. We can't explain, what we're doing. We just feel it. That's why when people ask like, what was your like process with making songs? I just say, I can't really tell you. It's just like, I just feel it. And I have enough musical knowledge, I believe, to, get it on wax, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So that's sort of your process.
Yes.
So you said Eric and John. Who are these mystical people?
Yeah. Eric, the most mystical of them all. He is my manager. We met about going on 2 years now at a basement show, and we hit it up with philosophy, and we hit it up about music, and we learned about each other, and our dreams and our aspirations and what we do. But at that time I was a student, and he was I think he was managing a contracting company. So even then, the seeds were already planted. Like you could tell the seeds were there for the relationship that we have now, which is both best friend, brother, and also like manager, artist. So, yeah. And then Jonathan Morbido, who I met through Eric. Another thing about Eric is that he's an excellent networker. He's the guy where if you need something, he just snaps his fingers and it just seems to be there.
Oh, yeah. He may also be my roommate, by the way.
Right.
The one who introduced me to Micah.
Right.
Just a little lore there.
Yeah.
But John?
Yeah, I met John through Eric. He is a producer, but that is just at face value. He is truly one of a kind when it comes to just like human excellence. He is a sound designer. He is a philosopher. He is a friend. He is a brother. He's like, in all honesty, he is just inspirational because he's a go-getter. He knows exactly what he wants. Even if he won't ever admit it, but when he focuses on something, when he hyperfixates on something, he just excels. I call him Midas. I have nicknames for like Eric and John. I call Eric the Hand because he just has like the know-how and just like I said, the prowess of it. He just knows how to get things done. And John is Midas because whatever he touches kind of just turns to gold,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely helps when you have these other motivated, creative people that are helping you on the project. But when you first started writing music, it wasn't always that way, though.
No, for the longest time, up until this point, I had been kind of like a one-man band.
Yeah.
I didn't have like the resources nor the time to truly network and find a producer and find an engineer and find like a band. So I just, bestowed upon myself the responsibility of like getting my own ideas out there. So I just kind of like basically listened to the Thriller album like about 100 or 200 times and just kind of mimicked how it sounded and eventually I was able to create a sound that I feel is distinctive to me.
Do you usually write the beats first or the lyrics, or how does that come to you?
Phenomenal question. I know how to beatbox. I've known how to beatbox since I was like a little kid.
Oh yeah.
So, which is very helpful in the sense that I don't have to be like in a musical space to make music. I can walk down the street or be somewhere, be in a theater or be in a library, and something will come to my head like a melody, and I know how to just like hum the melody or beatbox the melody. And luckily, with the invention of the cell phone, I can now record and so that I can remember what the melody was, what the beatboxing was, and then when I finally enter into a musical space, I pick up the keyboard and I pick up the Rhodes, and which is my favorite instrument because a Rhodes piano is basically like an electric piano and small, and it has both bass tones and melodic tones, so I can create bass lines and melodies at the same time. It's perfect. It's very helpful. And yeah, so it's usually beat first, then the lyrics, which is kind of unorthodox to some because usually it's like I come up with like a line, then I build the song. So we kind of work in reverse in that sense.
All right. Yeah. Thinking about all of that, how about we listen to some more of your playlist here?
Yeah.
Next is Jealous by I Dress.
Yes, I Dress.
I Dress. And, oh yeah, and we were just talking about this earlier. You're All I Need to Get By Marvin Gaye. Perfect.
Yes,
all right.
Nice.
So, Micah, I wanted to ask you, because we've listened to a bit of a variety of music now, and we've got some more bops coming up. But yeah, so how has your music taste sort of evolved over the years?
Well, when I came to Kalamazoo for the first time for college back in 2021, it was the first time I had been exposed to modern post-punk and modern rock.
Yeah.
So, in the years prior, when it came to rock, I was kind of, not as well versed as I was with other genres, simply because it was just never played in the house like that, really. And, but it wasn't until I listened to The Police. They're my favorite, like, popular band. The Police, they're just musical geniuses who they kind of mask their genius with pop, because it's led by Sting, who is a pop, like, fanatic. But the drummer, I forget his name. I think it's like Steve Copeland or something like that. He used to be, he was classically trained by his father, who was also classically trained. And he's a great drummer. He always loved to play different rhythms that weren't like pop standard. And so you could hear in each song that they make that clash between Sting, who wanted just pop hits, and Steven, who just wanted like artistry in the song. So songs such as Roxanne and Every Breath You Take, and one of them will be played. It's called Driven to Tears. These are great songs, all of them. But once I came to college, like I said, and I befriended those who loved like the rock scene here, they showed me songs from certain artists, like odious ones. And
I know we were sort of even talking about the French Police too.
Yes. I was put on to the French Police by a friend of mine who's also a part of my band. His name is Dawu. And
shout out Wooski.
And yes, they make post-punk, which I wholeheartedly believe should become the sound of Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
It's fast, it's dark, it's grungy, it's DIY, it's everything that Kalamazoo kind of excels in.
Yeah, and I think that sound really kind of shines through in some of your songs on your latest album, like Desire or Lust. Like, what do you think? Yes.
I don't know what it is about it. I just feel as though I can connect with that style of music simply because it feels raw. It just feels authentic. It feels like, someone just wanted to get their ideas out in like the cheapest, but at the same time, most artistic way possible. And that is what post-punk is. It's kind of it's like a juxtaposition of its own self, because it's super simple to make, but yet the lyrical content is some of the best you've ever heard. So.
And then I guess going off of that, would you say that your lyrical content is inspired by, true life, like as far as, you, or is it more just like a feeling you're trying to capture?
It's a little bit of both. For the most part, I like to make songs that breed escapism in one's mind. I want songs to take people somewhere, because escapism is one of the most powerful forces that anyone can have. It's a way for you to, get out from where you are mentally, whether that's in the good place or in the bad place, listening to the right song, and that right song just taking you somewhere that's like peaceful to you, or somewhere that's just exciting for you. That's what I really admire about, these genres of music, and like post-punk and hip-hop and R&B and pop and soul. It takes me places. So
yeah. Well, speaking of going down some roads, going down a street, taking us places, how about let's wind back to some 80s with some MJ,
that's right,
Michael Jackson, with Streetwalker, and then Atomic Dog. I love that song by George Clinton.
Yes. Let's go. Yes.
We were just talking about how the drums kind of sound reversed. Do you want to enlighten our audience, Micah?
Sure. In the song, the drums were reversed by the band of George Clinton, as a way to frustrate George, because he was notorious for being late to the sessions, and when he would be in the sessions, he'd be there kind of like intoxicated or inebriated. So they reversed the drums on that song, hoping that they would get the reaction out of him, and the only reaction they got out of him was one of the greatest like funkadelic songs of all time, which is Atomic Dog. So yes. It's one of those great musical stories that like only happens in the music world. So
yeah, no, it's a groovy song for sure.
Yeah.
They achieved it.
Nice.
But yeah. So I wanted to ask you a little bit of a deeper question here.
Uh-oh, philosophical.
Yeah. Well, I know that you also have TikTok and that you're on there. And, with your new album and everything that's out. Yes.
Yes.
And I just wanted to kind of ask, so how are you dealing with the sort of pressures, and how are you taking care of yourself since you've been getting more popular lately? It seems that you've been blowing up a bit. You've got a record label now, or at least a contract with one, right? So how are you taking care of Micah?
It's real simple, man. I'm a man of the faith. I'm a Christian. So there's always this feeling of security that I get from like knowing that there's something out there that cares about me. So when I ever feel as though, the pressure is weighing down on me, I have someone to like lean to. But also it's the best thing about, all this fame that's like been coming my way is that it's only over the internet pretty much. Like, it's not like, back in the old days where if you were like famous, you'd be bombarded by people, like, kind of just like they would swarm you and surround you. It's just mainly like people will see me at like a bar. And this happens very rarely, but people will see me at the bar and they're just like, "Hey, aren't you the guy on TikTok?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Whoa, that's nice." Sometimes they'd want to pick, but it's it's good. It's fun. It's cool. It helps that, the schedule that I have now, it's pretty open. It's flexible. If I want to hang out with someone, I can, for the most part, unless I'm like really like enthralled and into the music during the studio session. So yeah, it's been pretty neat. Taking it one day at a time too, and not letting worry weigh me down. Because you don't add an hour to your life by worrying. And those were like words from Jesus. So, it makes sense. It works for me. So
yeah, that's important, finding ways so that you don't get too overwhelmed and thinking about I've got this tomorrow or, next week. Just, staying in the here and now and being mindful about the moment that you're in. And yeah, so
right.
Happy that you're finding ways to stay grounded.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I know that we talked about this a little earlier. Well, both of these guys. And next up, we have So Blue by Prince, and then Driven to Tears by the Police. All right, here we go. One last question for you, Micah. Do you have any upcoming shows that we should have on our radar? Or any new music we should be looking out for in the near future on Spotify or SoundCloud?
Yes, I actually have a show on the end of this month, August 31st, at Papa Pete's, which is here, local in Kalamazoo. Doors open 6:30, music starts at 7. So if you have nothing to do, come on down to Kalamazoo.
Yeah, so there'll be a show at Papa Pete's on August 31st. All right. So very exciting. And so you have some music too?
I do. Yeah, it's a couple. I'm trying to keep it a surprise. So, but yes, I'm
Under
still
wraps.
working. Yeah, I'm always working on music. So just know that, this factory, it's not closed down at all.
Okay. But there is an album and some singles on Spotify.
Yes.
So if you liked what you heard tonight, Micah Dailey-White is on Spotify and Apple Music and all places where you can stream.
Thank you.
Have one more for you guys. It's Temptation by Micah Dailey-White. You're listening to WIDR Kalamazoo, and this is Wombat Music signing out. Thanks so much for coming with us through the rabbit hole. Thank you so much, Micah, for joining us.
Thank you. I had a great time. Great job. Great. I'm nervous. I'm shy. So
No,
I don't know what to say. I imagine a virtual bow. That's all I can do at this point.
Well, we hope to have you on again sometime when you have some more music to share, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, all you cats and critters at the zoo, have a lovely evening.
Peace.